The night shift at the Oakidge Police Department had fallen into a dead, suffocating silence, until the heavy glass doors of the station were suddenly pushed open. A massive canine, alone and off-leash, walked slowly inside. But what made everyone stop breathing was what he carried in his sharp jaws. A newborn baby. Red, fragile, and wrapped hastily in a torn, blood-stained blanket. The night shift officers froze. Why would a highly trained, man-hunting machine bring in a baby? And where was the mother? But when they decided to load their weapons, grab their flashlights, and follow the dog back into the freezing blizzard, they unearthed a truth so tragic it brought even the toughest men to tears. What happened next shocked everyone. Before we start, make sure to hit like and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The old wall clock in the precinct ticked past 2:14 a.m. On winter nights in Oakidge, it wasn't just cold. It felt as if the chill drained the life out of everything. A suffocating freeze blanketed the small town, coating the windows with thick, razor-sharp layers of frost. Inside, the station was almost perfectly still. Officer Marcus slumped over his desk, rubbing his bloodshot eyes, desperately trying to fight off the exhaustion gnawing at his mind after a grueling 12-hour shift. Curled up by the heavy steel back door was his partner, Titan. Titan wasn't an ordinary dog. No one in the precinct dared to treat him as a pet. He was a massive, 90-pound Belgian Malinois, a battle-hardened veteran. He was born to hunt down criminals. He was trained to charge straight into the barrels of guns without blinking. He was fierce. He was disciplined. And above all, he never lost his cool. But tonight, Titan was different. Very different. The dog continuously stood up, sat down, scratched his claws against the floor, and let out low, guttural whines from deep within his throat. Thinking his partner just needed a bathroom break, Marcus pushed open the heavy steel door to let Titan out into the secure backyard. The howling blizzard slammed straight into his face, carrying biting snow that cut like glass. Marcus shivered, stepped back, and left the door slightly ajar. He told himself it would only take a minute. The dog would be right back. But 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Then 15. The silence of the night shifted from cold to terrifying. Marcus frowned. Canines don't just take leisurely walks. They don't wander off. And above all, they never, ever abandon their handlers. Panic began to surge, clawing at his chest. Marcus grabbed his tactical flashlight, kicked the door wide open, and stepped straight into the blizzard. "Titan!" he yelled. The sound was swallowed instantly by the wind. No answering bark, no footsteps. Only the deep, suffocating darkness of the old pines, waiting to devour everything. And then, from out of that thick black curtain, a massive shadow slowly emerged. Titan. But he wasn't running. He wasn't sprinting toward him like usual. The most fearless dog in the precinct was walking with an agonizing, painful slowness. His head was bowed low to the ground. Every step he took was heavy, cautious, as if he were carrying an invaluable treasure. Marcus's flashlight beam swept across the snow, and his breath was suddenly choked off. The jaws that had once taken down the most dangerous fugitives were now gently holding a shredded bundle of fabric. Titan didn't shake his head. He didn't brush off the snow. He walked straight to Marcus, dropped to his front knees in the snow, and gently, extremely carefully, placed the bundle right at the officer's boots. The bundle shifted. A faint, fragile cry, like a tiny kitten, tore through the deadly air. It wasn't a piece of evidence. It wasn't a dropped item. It was a life. A newborn baby, tiny and weak, wrapped hastily in a torn woman's coat. The baby was still alive. Marcus dropped to his knees in the snow. His weathered hands shook violently as he scooped up the tiny life. The child's skin was as cold as ice, its fading breath clinging to life by the thinnest of threads. "Oh my God!" Marcus roared. He clutched the baby to his chest, kicked open the precinct door, and screamed into his radio. "Get an ambulance! Code red! Infant! Right now!" Chaos erupted instantly. The night shift officers bolted from their desks. Paramedics kicked the doors open, snatched the child, wrapped it in thermal blankets, and fought frantically against death to keep that tiny heartbeat going. But in that life-or-death moment, under the blinding white neon lights of the station, Marcus saw something that made the blood in his veins freeze. Blood. Deep red, fresh streaks of blood matted all over Titan's front paws and around his muzzle. Marcus's feet felt glued to the floor. He knew his dog. There wasn't a single wound on Titan. This blood wasn't his. He looked deep into Titan's eyes. The dog wasn't resting. He didn't care about the warmth of the room. He stood blocking the open doorway, letting out a desperate, heartbreaking whine. He looked at Marcus. Then he looked out into the dark forest. Back to Marcus. Then back to the forest. He was sounding the alarm. He was begging. Someone was still out there. "Show me the way, Titan," Marcus whispered, drawing his weapon and clicking on his flashlight. "Let's go!" Titan launched himself like an arrow. He didn't follow any trail. The dog tore through the night, charging straight into the deepest, darkest, and most dangerous part of the woods. Marcus sprinted right behind him. Roots tangled around his ankles. Sharp, dry branches ripped his uniform and scratched his face, drawing blood. The sub-zero cold felt like it was freezing his lungs. But Titan's focus didn't waver for a single second. He was racing against death. Deep inside the forest, nearly a mile from the precinct, Titan slammed on the brakes. He let out a piercing, echoing bark, then began digging frantically with his front paws at a massive snowdrift trapped beneath the roots of a rotting oak tree. Marcus rushed over, shining his light into the hollow. The scene that appeared before his eyes brought even this battle-hardened soldier to tears. There, curled up and hidden from the blizzard, was a young woman. She hadn't abandoned her baby. Her car had slid off the icy highway above the cliff and rolled down into the woods. Desperate, severely injured, and trapped in the middle of nowhere, she had gone into premature labor right on the freezing snow. Knowing she was losing too much blood, knowing she was dying of hypothermia. In those final moments, as her consciousness slipped away, she didn't scream. She made the ultimate maternal decision. She took off her only warm coat and wrapped it tightly around her newborn child. And when Titan, a massive dog with razor-sharp teeth, emerged from the darkness, having tracked her scent of blood, she didn't panic. The instinct of a dying mother guided her. She looked straight into the eyes of that terrifying police dog, pushed her baby toward him, and prayed for a miracle. Titan understood. He wasn't a man-hunting machine tonight. Tonight, he was a guardian angel. Rescue teams arrived minutes later, tracking Marcus's GPS signal. They rushed the mother onto a stretcher, frantically administering IV fluids to hold on to her fading life. As the stretcher was lifted, the woman weakly opened her pale eyes. She reached out a trembling, blood-stained hand into the air. Titan stepped forward. The fierce canine lowered his head, gently resting his snout into her freezing palm. Not a single word was spoken, but everyone present understood. A silent promise had been kept. The greatest mission had been accomplished. Both the desperate mother and her tiny baby survived that harsh winter night. A real-life miracle had been woven, not by state-of-the-art medical equipment or perfect rescue plans, but by the primal instinct and the heart of a dog who knew exactly what had to be done. This story is a profound reminder. True heroes don't always wear shiny uniforms, and they don't always walk on two legs. Loyalty, bravery, and compassion are universal languages that transcend the boundaries of species. Sometimes, the fiercest, most terrifying warriors hide the gentlest hearts, hearts extraordinary enough to recognize a desperate plea for life, even when words have become entirely powerless. If Titan's story touched your heart, share it with fellow animal lovers and never stop believing in miracles. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and stay with us for more deeply moving stories to come.